How to make your content contagious. That is the topic of the hour. Hello, good day, greetings, ciao, namaste, and salams to peeps from all around the world. Welcome to the live. Now, this particular series is called Impact 2.0, where we feature purpose-driven leaders making a dent in the universe in their own special way. Stick around till the end, and I promise you that you'll walk away with at least one, if not more, practical yet scrumptious takeaways from each of these live sessions, like an ice cream sundae topped with heavy whipped cream, melted dark chocolate, and a dash of gold dust. But most importantly, if you turn up live, you will get a chance to ask each guest questions that are bugging you like an itch that can't be scratched. Now, my today's guest is the Sean Connery of the business and marketing world. He has the brains and the brawn and is currently the CRO at VanillaSoft. He believes that by identifying what's remarkable about your brand or product, you will create social currency among viewers and get people talking about your product. So will you please put your virtual hands together to welcome my fantabulous guest, Darryl Praill. Welcome, Darryl.
I don't think I've ever had a more impressive intro than that. And I can guarantee you, nobody's ever dropped the word scrumptious on any kind of intro I've had. So I just, kudos to you. I mean, there's a content lesson right there. Folks, what did she do? She used vocabulary. She painted a visual for you, a picture. Tell me you weren't visualizing that ice cream with the gold dust on top. You know you're like gold dust, not like sprinkles, gold dust. She had you hook, line, and sinker. Content lesson number one. Amber Khan, you don't need me. Just follow her.
No, that's so true. But I'm learning. I'm learning for peeps like you, Darryl. You're an expert, and but it's good to hear feedback from others to know that I'm doing something right. Right. So, Darryl,
I was loving your intro. I know you're going to get into it, Amber. By the way, when you interview me, I drag you all over the place. I apologize in advance, but your intro was fantastic. Did you see her countdown timer? I got to ask you. Is that a countdown timer you bought, or did you build that yourself, your countdown timer?
No, I didn't buy. I just used the elements available on the web and then put it together using a tool called Canva. That's it.
Canva, there you go. See? But it's remarkable. It's remarkable. You did a great job. Okay, I'll shut up. Back to you.
Awesome. Now, peeps, before we get into the sausage and mash of this conversation, Darren, we are going to start off the show with a quick fire round. Are you ready?
I am not, but let's do it anyway.
Well, it's all going to be fun. So, just you're going to enjoy this. Trust me. Now, the first question is,
hey, you can't embarrass me any more than anybody else has. Go ahead.
Is it? Oh, by the way, let's say hi to peeps who are already here. Kaleem is here. Darryl, you know him from Peak Community. Jen Griffin is here. Hello, Jen. Nice to see you here. Now, Darryl, which store would you max out your credit card if you absolutely had to?
Which stove?
Which store?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, which store? Gotcha. I think the stove, because I can answer the stove question, but which store? Oh my gosh. Okay. Totally Best Buy. I'm an electronics gadget or BH Photo. BH Photo. BH Photo. I know it's an American chain, online mostly. BH Photo. If you need any kind of camera, electronic production, like you name it, BH Photo. That's where I would go. It would be dangerous to have me in BH Photo.
Awesome. All right. What 3 words would your best friend use to describe you?
An idiot, sarcastic, and a putz. That's my take. But they might throw a 4th one in there of saying funny. I hear that sometimes.
Yes, yes. Well, you definitely are funny. I can't say for the other three, but we definitely see you as a funny chap with lots of gray cells on top of your head. Now,
yes, lots of gray cells. You're nice. Go ahead.
if you could take three things to a desert island, what would they be?
Oh, that's a great question. I think a cell phone. So
yes,
I can call and say, get me the hell off of here. Beyond that, I would probably take, I would probably take my, because the cell phone is great too, right? Because it's got the GPS, it's got the camera, it's got the apps, it's got everything like that. The second or third thing I would do, I would take a music player. If the cell phone doesn't have it, I would take a music player of some sort. And then the fourth thing I would take probably would be a lighter, so I can start fires and keep warm.
What about some sort of...
I should probably bring a gun, eh? If I was thinking about that, I should bring a gun.
Yeah. What about some sort of energy device to charge your devices?
Well, you see, I harken back to my days of watching, what the hell was it, Gilligan's Island. And I would like to be the professor who can make a solar charger out of coconuts and bananas. So I'm not worried about that. I got that part covered. I'm sure I can figure that out.
Wow, you definitely have that covered. I see where you're going. You're thinking, I don't need to take that. I can make that myself.
I can make that, exactly.
All right. I am going to play you a sound. Can you tell me what it represents? Any ideas, Darryl?
This goes back to my youth. That would be a modem connecting online, often to a BBS, bulletin board service, like a CompuServe, right? Yes, and then eventually it became a fax machine, but before then it was the BBS. Yes.
Kira goes the fax machine. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
She's showing fax machine because she's showing her age. Where I'm a little older, I had computers on modems, with phones that went into the cups and actually communicated. That's the sound we heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like on War Games with Matthew Broderick. Yes.
Yeah. Somebody else said that's the AOL charging up. Yes, AOL, the first email.
See, AOL. Yes, AOL. Yeah, I said CompuServe, which actually got bought by AOL. So there you go. Yeah,
we've got Jen saying that she would take a boat with a motor to the desert island. And look what Kira says. She would take a bottle of rum. That's
I like Kira with her rum.
Yeah.
Jen is smart. Kira's fun. That's what we know.
Yeah, that's right. So if we were to take peeps on the desert island with us, we should definitely be taking Jen and Kira with us.
They're on the list. They're on the short list. Absolutely.
All right. The last question on the quick fire round. If you could have any superhuman power, what would it be?
I would probably go with just strength, because I'm in my early 50s now, Amber, and I don't have the strength I used to have. Here's a superpower I would love to have: just a back that didn't hurt all the time. All right, so that's kind of my reaction.
Well, we don't see you as old. We see you as very handsome and Sean Connery, who lived forever. By the way.
I had a friend the other day said to me, "Oh, I love your photo. You look like Wolf Blitzer." And I said, "I'm off of CNN cable news," and I was like, "Wolf Blitzer." I was hoping you'd go for George Clooney or Sean Connery. So Amber, you're my best friend. You went Sean Connery. Thank you very much.
Awesome. That's the idea. Now that means, Darryl, the quickfire round is over, and you know what that means, Darryl?
What does that mean?
It means that you have arrived. Now, if you'd like, you can give me your best arrival pose while I create the mood for that.
I don't know.
You have arrived.
almost
Darryl.
sounds like your boat's going down underwater. I'm here. I'm arrived. Where have I arrived?
We have arrived at the sausage and mash of this conversation.
Love it. Let's do it.
All right, Darryl. Imagine that I'm holding a pair of boxing gloves. Could you take these gloves from me and smash for me, and not my face, please, but some kind of content myth, a bogus strategy, or a misconception, and set the record straight once and for all?
Oh, okay. Okay, so I will preface this by saying this is the world according to Darryl. All right, so I'm going to stop there. A myth. Here we go. Build it and they will come. You know, made famous in the movie Field of Dreams, where they made a baseball diamond in the middle of nowhere and they came. People, marketers especially, but sales reps too, think if I build this content, they will come. And the secret to generating leads, the secret to generating sales and revenue, is just more content. If I make content, I will do wonderful things. Bullshit. That is a myth. They will not come. There's more content than we know what to do in this world. It's crazy as stupid. The content needs to be good. It needs to be relevant. It needs to be consumable. It needs to be keyword optimized up the wazoo. But more than anything, the content needs to be promoted. And there's lots of ways you can do that. But, you know, social influence in communities and word of mouth referrals, best way going. The biggest thing, if marketers will make content thinking they're making it for the sales reps to use, and the sales reps never, ever touch it. They don't even know what you've got. So building content does not drive leads. Content is just the first step in the lead generation process. It's kind of like an ingredient to the recipe. It is not the end result, but it is an ingredient you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And of course, we're going to discuss more about that, the solutions about how we go about doing that. Just a quick side note here that we are streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube simultaneously. If for some reason your LinkedIn stream plays up, you can continue over at my YouTube channel, which is bit.ly/spreading ideas with Amber Khan. All right.
And while you're there, subscribe to the channel, and don't just subscribe. Make sure you hit the notifications icon too, so you get notified every time there's a new feed.
Thank you, Darryl.
I'm there for you.
For doing this for me. Thank you. All right. Now let's get into this fab chat, Darryl. Before we go any further, could you share with the viewers and listeners, why do you do what you do?
I've shared this a few times over the years. I grew up, and this is a funny story, funny to me at least. I grew up in high school. I had no friends in school, zero. I was a complete loner, but what I was very passionate about was chess. And yes, I was on the high school chess team. And yes, I was the third best in my province, and I have trophies and everything. All right.
Oh, wow.
So what is it that I like about chess? What I like about I suck now, Amber. What I like about chess was a chessboard has a very simple mandate. You're trying to get the opponent's king, and you've got all of these. You have 16 pieces that you can use to get that one objective. To me, that's what marketing is. Marketing is I've got pay-per-click, I've got SEO, I've got content, I got influence marketing, I've got websites, I've got landing pages, I got email, I got all these amazing things, webinars, podcasts. It's crazy what I've got. I can move all these pieces to get that one objective. I like the strategy, and I like moving them in ways that my opposition, my competition does not. So if I can be a smaller, less funded person, and I can kick the ass of my better funded, bigger resourced, bigger budgeted team because I've got better moves, to me, that's what I'm thrilled. To me, it's a strategy game. It's a chess game, and everything in the marketing kit are just pieces to be played.
Awesome. So it's that drive to sort of put your competitors or keep them awake, keep your competitors awake, because the more you move forward, the more they're thinking, oh shit, we got to better ourselves as well. So it's like a constant battle.
Yeah. It could be the competition. It could be your boss gave you a goal. It could be that your venture capitalist gave you a goal. Right? There's always another there's always another competitor. There's always another opponent in a chess game. So to me, it's like one chess game after another after another. You know, just sending a cool email with a high open rate, yeah, that's interesting. But in combination with everything else, that's cool. Figuring out what works and what doesn't, I love that.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so I guess what I want to ask you first is that what do you think scares brand when it comes to investing in content marketing?
Say it again. What do I think scares what?
Brands, businesses, when it comes to investing in content marketing.
I don't think anything scares them from investing in. I think I think where brands mess up is kind of where we started talking to this conversation is that they don't think content marketing has the ROI, has the return on their investment that they expect. So they know they need to do it, but they kind of like pull short, right? They say, oh, maybe, they're really kick ass. It's going to cost $100,000, but we'll spend $25,000 and it's good enough. And so they're not willing. What scares them is they don't see it. They don't see the opportunity, so they're going to be conservative with their cash flow, conservative with their resources, because they think they're missing out on opportunity cost. They think that it's not driving the sales machine. So to me, their fear stems from a lack of understanding on how to use content as a weapon. It's like this. I can make a gun, which is making content, but that gun doesn't shoot the target. You actually have to have bullets, and you have to have, training, and you have to have all these other tactics to do it, to actually make that gun effective. People are just scared of going that extra mile because they don't understand it. And the biggest thing there is leadership. Often, whether it's the board or the CEO, they think of marketing as the events people, as the content brochure people, and as the press release people, and that's it. Something like brand is intangible and difficult to measure. So how can I spend 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures on something that's got a brand element to it when I can't measure the ROI? They don't understand empathy. They don't understand psychology. They don't understand the human element, because that's not how they're wired. Why? Because many companies are developed by engineers, or they're funded and managed by economists or accountants. None of those people understand the creativity, the psychology, the human element of content. And so they shy away from it, a lack of understanding. That was a long answer. I apologize.
That's fine. And I guess that brings me to the question that, what mistakes can a brand avoid if they were to ramp up their content game 2021 and onwards?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Mistakes on a content game, what to do. Okay. So it's not about the volume. That's the first thing. So you don't have to make 50 pieces. You can make 5 kick-ass pieces. That's the first thing. All right. Yeah. It's not about the costs. In other words, you can make one piece. For example, Amber should be taking this session today and turning it into a blog post, an ebook, and a series of social media feeds. She's probably going to do that because that gives her scale. Too many people just think it's a one and done, and there's no scale, there's no repurposing. So there's that aspect. The thing that's killing them is that it has to be perfect. They have to spend 6 months making sure the graphic design, the color is just right. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. All right. And the last thing that's killing people on content, the content strategy, for the love of God, I mean, and this is not new, but for the love of God, stop pitching your freaking product or service. Nobody cares about your latest and greatest tool. Talk to me as a human being about my life, my issues, my challenges, and make it relatable. And then the last thing is, all right, make it consumable, bite size. If I can't see it within a screen or two on my iPhone, I'm not going to read it. It's as simple as that. So, because my schedule's too busy. So those are lots of reasons. Again, pretty much content 101, but people make these mistakes all the time. Yeah, and on social media, those are the social etiquettes, like you said. You give value first. You talk about challenges your audience is facing. But do you feel like we should never pitch at all, or is there a strategy to when one should pitch the product or service on social media platforms? So you can totally. Yeah, you can totally pitch. All right. So pitching is not allowed. I'm sorry, not allowed, because we all get it. We're all in the game, whether we're sales or engineers or marketing. We understand that there's revenue drives the machine. So pitching's allowed. There's a courtesy. What it is the nonstop pitching. So I like to tell people that kind of like 1 in 3 posts can be a pitch on social media. The other one should be you contributing or you sharing, right? So you contributing to a dialogue or talking about something. For example, I could be talking about Amber's show here and how great it is and how you guys need to check it out. Or it could be me sharing, hey, Amber just wrote this great ebook. I want to share it with the community. And the third one is, hey, I'm going to be on Amber's show. You should come and attend with me. I'd love to see you there. So it's kind of like a 1 in 3 thing. If you do that, you're going to be awesome. But the other thing, there's also a secondary thing, which is it's not always the content. It's the person delivering the content. So if you have no social credibility, you have no reputation, and then you try to share something, they're just going to ignore it. Whereas if they see that you're involved in the community, you're whatever community that you're targeting, and you're contributing, and you're not just liking stuff, but you're actually engaged you're in the comments, you're in the posts, you're debating, you're arguing, you're not always agreeing, you're bringing in new facts and figures, you're promoting the other people in the space. If you do that, then when you share some content, because you're awesome, they're going to read the content. So what's changed about the world is that the individual, the evangelist, almost has more cachet than the company brand. Your personal brand is bigger than your company brand, and your personal brand will bring along the company with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, because I mean, we see very few organizations doing that, what you're talking about, that your personal brand helps propel your business brand. And we don't see many businesses do that. A lot of the brands stay behind the scene, like with Samsung, right? Everybody knows Steve Jobs from Apple, but Samsung, is there who's behind it? We don't know. So I guess what I wanted to find out from you, how going forward, forget about what businesses have been doing in the past, but going forward, what happens to brands if they do not now start investing in their chief evangelist brands, or thinking of propelling their business brands using personal brands?
They become a commodity, all right, and then they're only able to sell on price at that point in time. So, what do we do? You need to understand, this is really important, and we should all be able to understand this. Human beings are naturally designed to minimize risk. It goes back to the very, very beginning, right? That dinosaur is going to kick my ass and kill me. I should have walked around the dinosaur and avoid that risk. That's how we're wired, okay? I'm going to stay in my cave at night and not go outside where the bad guys are, because I want to live. I want to avoid risk. So what do? We tend to whenever we're in a buying decision, we tend to shortlist the category leaders. All right. So you get the top 1 or 2. I always like to say Coke and Pepsi. It's a classic case, right? Those are the ones we go and evaluate right away. You used to say you never got fired for buying Microsoft or IBM. It's the exact same thing. Those were always safe because they were the least amount of risk. So what does everybody else become? Everybody else becomes column fodder, where the only way they're going to get the deal is on price. Unless the individual has an amazing experience in the buying process. So what do? We need to make sure that our brand and our equity is built up to be shortlisted. I know even when I took over at VanillaSoft, I said to my CEO, because the 1-2 players in our category were already established. And I said, I'll never guarantee you to be number 1 or number 2, ever, ever, ever. But my objective, my guarantee to you is I'll get us in the conversation. So they'll say vendor A, vendor B, and maybe VanillaSoft as a third person. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that everything we're doing forward looking is about embracing the community. That's the thing you got to understand. Not only do we avoid risk, how do we avoid risk? We avoid risk by going to other people and saying, what do you recommend? You've had this problem. How did you solve? Who did you look at? So that word of mouth referral, which is not content related, is huge. So we marketers need to make sure that there's an amazing customer experience that our current customers have. And then we need to promote the living bejesus out of them back to the community and make them rock stars, so that everybody else uses their brand, their influence to consider your product in the sales cycle. So brand doesn't need to come from you directly. It can come from your advocates. You mentioned Samsung. You're right. They don't have an evangelist, but they've got, what do they have? They have a gazillion influencers they pay to promote their products, with make sure their phones are always seen or the technology. So there's two ways you can do it. You can be an evangelist, or you can engage the community and other influencers to drive your brand. I don't think I answered your question at all, Amber, but it really sounded good in my head. Okay. So
this sounds perfect. I mean, what I love about what you said is that make sure that you turn up in conversations. That's the first bit, because
yes.
if we're not even there, where are we?
If you're in conversations, they already start to trust you, and then they're going to shortlist you. I cannot tell you how many deals or even leads before there were deals. Leads I've gotten simply because somebody's reached out to me on social media and said, I love your content, been following you for a long time. We've got a project now that you might be a fit for. You know what? That didn't cost me anything other than the precursor. And the precursor was I made great content. I used social media to promote it and start a conversation. And I took a position. That's the last thing. When you're doing content is meant to take a position, not necessarily a position around a feature you need to have or don't have because your product has it or doesn't have, but a position around what's right, regardless of what you offer. So the most traction I've ever gotten over and over and over again is when I go to a subject matter expert who's got thousands upon thousands of followers. They make some statement and I say, well, I agree with A and B, what you're saying, but I disagree with C. I think you're wrong on C. All right. Some people would look at that and say that that's death. Why would you ever disagree with somebody with so much influence? It could shut you down. The reality is they're wrong on C. On item C, and so you need to have that conversation. And this is the thing that people don't understand. This is where bean counters or engineers or accountants don't understand it. Is when I say you're wrong, and then we end up having a conversation, there's a million people watching that back and forth exchange, and they never comment. They're all lurking. But all million of those people who are watching your conversation will pick up the phone and say, can you come bid on my business when the time is right? So how do you measure that? You can't. You can't measure that, but that's what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So become visible. I guess that's another thing that I'm getting from it, that until we are visible and we're striving towards it, it's going to be pretty pointless just lurking around. I see a question here from Kira. I think you may have, already touched upon it. How do you build reputation?
She's a troublemaker. How do you build reputation? Give us 3 to 5 how-tos. Okay, I've given some of these away. I think already. So first, so I'm going to give you the classic starting point. The classics, and I did the exact same thing when I was starting on this road. You take a few months and you figure out the lay of the land. Who are people quoting? In their conversations, what content are they referring to? Who are the influencers? Can be an individual or can be an organization like a Gartner or a Forrester or an IDC, as an example, right? It could be an association, but who are they quoting and referring to? Look at the books that are really being consumed and purchased in your industry on Amazon, other sources, and those authors have influence because their message has influence. So you get the lay of the land. And now you know the people you need to follow. You need to follow all of those people. And now you get to watch the dialogue, the conversations for another month. And you start to see who are the people who are vocal in following those influencers. Because there's the influencers and there's that next level down of dedicated community. You need to follow those people. Once you follow those influencers and that top level of followers to those influencers, you have now found your audience, and you want a reciprocal, because now everything you post and share on social media, they'll see. Now that you've done that, at the same time you were doing all that, you were looking for the hot buttons. What are they talking about? Now you need to start coming out with content that speaks to that and positions, and you need to then start tagging those people in context. Too many people do a post where they'll tag 50 people. What you don't understand is if I tag 50 people and 49 of them don't react, my algorithm puts that post lower. If they don't, I tag somebody and they don't react, it actually pushes it down. So you don't want to tag a lot of people, but you want to tag them in context. So I would say something like, I was talking to Amber Khan and she shared this. What do you guys think? Do you agree with her or disagree with her? I think that. Over to you. So now I've tagged you. It's about something you've said. I've given my position, which may or may not agree with you. And you're going to come in because now it's part of your conversation because you said it. And now all of your followers come with you and all of their followers come with you. And it all goes back to what I said. I was the one that instigated the conversation. I stirred the pot and I gave you credit. So I'm not rude or inappropriate. So my steps, figure out the lay of the land and who to follow. 2, add value. So spark conversation. 3, the last thing I would give you, Kira, is find your voice. So for me, my voice is a couple things. I'm high energy. That's who I am naturally. And I'm also opinionated. And I don't mind being wrong, but I do have an opinion. And you can convince me that I'm wrong, but I'm going to call you out on it. Other people are all like in your face, and this is the way it is, you know, and that's their persona. Other people are like dropping swear words every third word. They're colorful. They're animated. That's who they are. Other people are storytellers. Kevin Dorsey comes to mind. Fantastic storytellers. That's who they are. You got to find your voice. If you don't find your voice, then you're never going to build your reputation. So who's my community? What's topics and content that I can talk about? Notice when I talk about content and topics, I'm not talking about my product. But here's the pro tip. The contents and topics I'm choosing to talk about are related to my product. I just don't explicitly say it. And then I have a voice. And that voice, so a couple of things I do. Like, it sounds stupid, but this is what I've done. And you can do your own thing. Like, look at this. I've got these stupid glasses. Do you know I only wear these glasses when I'm live streaming? If I'm sitting at my work desk, I don't wear these glasses. I have another set of glasses. If I'm in my studio, I've always got my trademark red curtains behind me. Why? Because now when they're scrolling through the timelines, they see the glasses, they see the spiky white hair, or they see the red curtain, and they stop. Or they have it on mute, but they see my hands having a conniption doing this all the time. And I'm like, what the hell is his problem? And they stop and they listen. Those are tips and tricks that I've used to build my reputation and and for people to identify me. You need to do that yourself. You need to find out your own space.
And I think that's a big one and that's where a lot of people trip. I know personally from my experience as well, that when I just recently started showing up and doing lives and podcasts, and before that it was that thing of how do I find my voice that would stop me from even doing anything, from even creating content, because I would be stuck there thinking, what if people hate me?
Yes.
What if they just hate my content?
Yes.
So
here's the thing you have to ask yourself. Do people hate you now? Like, so if you weren't online, if you were just talking to you went into a room of prospects, like in the old fashioned days where we actually went face to face and pitched our products or our services. Did they hate you? Or did they find you engaging? Or did they find you interesting or provocative? Chances are they did not hate you. In fact, the chances are they liked you or respected you for the expert that you were. So if those people didn't hate you, nobody else is going to hate you. The only thing stopping you down, slowing you or stopping you from doing what you need to do is your own insecurities and your own imposter syndrome. But here's the thing. We all have that. So that excuse goes away. Just go out there and talk to your friends. I don't talk to you like this is a prepared conversation. It's not. I talk to you the exact same way I would talk to you as if we're in a coffee shop meeting for the first time.
And I love that advice because, for years I have suffered from this imposter syndrome. And for years I've never showed up thinking that it's, okay, I had, tons of excuses like everybody has, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'm not the person who should be visible. Maybe somebody else should do it. Or, tons of excuses that were going through my head. And eventually what changed? Really nothing except the mindset that, okay, just do it. Do it, get on with it. And what's the worst that can happen? You will stop doing it, So
I'll go one step further with you because you're talking about your own experience and you're spot on. So let me ask you this. When did your content really start taking off? Before you started putting yourself out there or after you started putting yourself out there?
Definitely after.
Right, because they liked you. They thought Amber's fun. She's high energy. She's smart. She makes me laugh and giggle. It's infectious. I like Amber. Oh, Amber's got a new content piece. What's Amber talking about? That's what happens. You become the expert just because of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we learn as we go, right? I'm still learning. Every day I'm learning, and every time when I'm doing another live or another podcast interview, I try to do a little bit better than the last one, you know, and that's all we can do as we go, and when we learn, and we make sure that we bring that improvement onto the next thing that we are going to do, and not just stay the same all the time.
So then let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So you made a comment. You said every single time I want to be a little bit better. Fair enough. I agree. That's the right approach. However, you and I both know that some interviews go better than others. Sometimes it's a technology issue. Sometimes your guest is just boring as hell. Who the hell knows? But some don't go well, right? So how do you respond? How do you react when you go, ugh, that one was awful? How do you react?
I think if I was to think back to my previous self, I probably would have given up. But now it feels like, okay, maybe I just had a bad day, or my guest was having a bad day, and I just move on. I don't dwell on it. I don't dwell on it thinking, shit, everything went down the shithole, and now I should stop doing this. No, I just think of it. It was a temporary glitch.
Right. So what you've got there is the classic mindset, right? So we talked about tips and tricks. You know, Kira's question about reputation is huge. But at the end of the day, you can do all these wonderful things, but if you don't have the right mindset, you're screwed. And the best mindset to have is, I'm going to have fun with this. And if it doesn't go well, I will forgive myself and I will endeavor to learn from it and do better next time. And over time, I'll get better. Right? The classic expression, Malcolm Gladwell said it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert.
Yes.
So then why do you all expect to be an expert 1 or 2 or 3 hours into the process? That's bullshit.
Yes.
It takes time. Give yourself grace and you'll get better.
Yeah, but I think we overthink it. We overthink that whatever we are supposed to do, that suddenly we're supposed to become expert at what we have just started doing, when that is not the case. So I love that, what Malcolm Gladwell said, actually. I love all his books, by the way. Malcolm Gladwell. Yes.
He's kind of good at what he does.
Yeah. I think this was mentioned in his book, Outliers, when he talked about the 10,000 hours required.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about, at the beginning of the interview, you busted the myth about, you create something, your product or content, and believe that, people will follow and people will come. So how can businesses best leverage content or create content that's contagious and that's relevant to their audience? How can we best leverage?
That's actually really easy.
Yeah.
Well, to make content that's contagious or infectious, depending on your point of view, basically that spreads and gets consumed and picked up, is you've got to make it relevant. And that sounds so contrite and it sounds so easy to say. Okay, but let me give you an example. Okay, now I'm Canadian, but I'll speak about the U.S. for a second, right? So in the U.S., of course, they've just gone through quite the dynamic in their political handoff from one president to another, and all that's happened. That's top of mind. If I was making content, I would actually draw corollaries to that. I would draw references to that. I wouldn't pick sides, but I would draw references to that. And that would be in my headlines. And you're going to damn well bet people are like, oh, Praill's got an opinion on what just went down in the US. So I got to open this up. Even though what I'm talking about is, okay, so Biden just took over and his first week he's done this, but that was the execution. What went into the planning? So maybe my whole piece of content is how to successfully plan a product launch, right? Yeah. But because you think about Biden was basically a product launch. On January 20th, they launched him. He's now president. So that's something that's topical. The other thing about being topical, and people forget this, is the whole premise, and I think it was David Merriam Scott who coined this term, newsjacking, right? Yeah. So if if there's a topic that's hot right now and everybody's using that hashtag on any kind of posts, you can newsjack that hashtag to offer your point of view. So let's say it was on media influence, right? Because Twitter banned Trump. Is that, where's the media influence end or start, or what's responsible? I can find the right hashtag associated with that topic, and I can do a content piece about influence in a sales cycle or influence in a buying process, and I can tie it back. So there's lots of different ways, but if you make it relatable and personable and relevant and top of mind, that's what makes it stand out from the crowd. Otherwise, it screams product pitch. The other part about doing that is that it's relatable, right? I used to make it relevant, make it relatable, because now you can go look at those. Oh yeah, Trump, Biden, I saw it. I watched it on my television. I can relate to the point. A product launch, a president. I get it. Yeah, that's a really good analogy. So all of a sudden, it's just personal because it's something that was in their lives. So that's what works best for us. And you can have fun with that. You can have humor. You can have everything else. Like, for example, when the January 6th thing was going on and they stormed the Capitol, I went on Twitter and I'm like, should I do this? And I posted a cute little meme where it was a cat looking on the other side of a fence going, what the F is going on over there? That's all it was, right? And so I posted it by saying, as a Canadian who's a border of, who borders the United States, I thought you would find this funny. And I posted it. That got more traction than you can imagine. So sometimes your content doesn't need to be a product pitch. Sometimes it can just be personal. So that's that 1-to-3 ratio. Anyway, there you go.
And that's a great example of how actually you can bring the everyday events, be it political events or something entertaining happening in the world, to your content without being controversial or without being, most big organizations have a red tape, right? That you can't talk about these things, you can't mention this name, you can't do that. But what you're saying is that there are creative ways of newsjacking without actually picking sides, political sides, or being very controversial about it.
So imagine me. So VanillaSoft is a sales engagement platform. Imagine if I did a blog post or an ebook that said the top 10 things President Trump taught me about sales engagement.
Yeah.
Right?
Love that.
Tell me you wouldn't open that up, right? You would totally open that up. All right. And that's cool. All right. So that's an example.
Yeah. I'm loving this. I'm taking notes because I'm thinking I got to produce more of these new newsjacking content because it sounds fun and you can be relevant at the same time. So we're not going off topic. We can relate it to to the content that our audience wants to listen. So that is super awesome. I've got a lot of work to do now. A lot of work.
So do I. It's all good.
Okay, let's talk about marketing budgets. They vary obviously hugely depending on the size of the company. So regardless of the size, how should a business best budget for content marketing?
So that's a really good, I've never been asked that question before, but it's a legit question. Okay. So let me come at it at a slightly different angle. I will answer your question. I promise.
Yeah.
When I'm in a job interview for a head of marketing position or any marketing position, you don't have to be head of marketing. One of the questions I always ask consistently is the following question. What percentage of revenues do you direct towards marketing? I stop. And the answer should be simple. They should know this answer. And, Harvard would say minimally you should have a 3% contribution overall, regardless of at least in the B2B world. So you'll be shocked. Most people will be like 1.5%. So those companies avoid. You want the job. I know it. You're never going to succeed because you're not going to have the money to do what you want to do. And you're spitting into the wind. You're pushing that boulder uphill. No matter how much you will it or want it, it ain't going to happen. If they don't have the money for it now, it ain't going to happen, no matter how great your content is. Right. But if they say 3% or more, then already you've got a company who understands the value of marketing. If they say like 6% or 9%, now you know you've got guns blazes, let's go, let's kick ass. So that's the first thing. So before you can actually justify content and how much you spend on it, you have to make sure that the culture of the company is open to investing in marketing at all. That's my first point. Now, once you know that, then how you actually justify content is a little bit of chicken and egg. So you're going to make content regardless, and you have to track your lead sources. So many marketers are good at this, and many marketers suck at this, which is you need to be able to attribute your spend to the deal. So in other words, every lead that comes in, you need to be able to say where that lead came from. Did it come from a pay-per-click? Did it come from an organic website visit? Did it come from a webinar? Did it come from a podcast? Did it come from a trade show? Yada, 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 yada. And what you can do is you can do, by extension. So in other words, every single pay-per-click deal came in was for a piece of content. So we drove 10 deals on an average MRR of $1,000. So that's 10,000 MRR off this one piece of content using pay-per-click campaigns. And we spent $10,000. All right. So you can start to do, therefore, a second piece of content or a third piece of content should have an exponential increase or minimal, the same ROI, return on your investment. If you don't measure it, you can never actually justify increasing further investment in content. So this is a little bit where RevOps meets content marketing. So that's the chicken and egg, because you got to have content so you can measure it. But if I don't get budget, then I can't make content. I understand that. So that's where blog posts are free. They really, truly, truly are. Videos, I can use this phone and I can make a kick-ass video free. Absolutely. All right. So you can start off with the low rent content pieces first to create a business case of ROI. And once you got that business case, then you can now get permission to spend $10,000 or $20,000 on a kick-ass ebook, or maybe a research paper done in combination with an analyst firm. And then again, you're going to measure it, you're going to show ROI, and then you're going to get permission to do even more of that or not. Yeah. So that's how you have to do it. You got to start small, show your ROI, track it, and then you got to build up. You're not ever going to be able to go out of the gate and say, I want to drop $30,000 on this white paper. Ain't going to happen.
Yeah. I love that. And I can speak from, from small business point of view here as well, that obviously we, if somebody's starting their business now, or maybe they're in the early years, this is obviously budget is a huge concern, and there's limited resources. And people are thinking, well, I don't have the money or the resources to start content marketing and stuff. And from what you said, that's exactly how you do. You just start small. You don't have to go big on all platforms. You do not have to start, from the beginning on all platforms. You don't need to have like videos, audios, everything going at the same time. You just start with sort of one anchor content, be it's a blog. If it's a blog for you, and you just start there and you start with your mobile phone, that's it. Don't even worry about anything else. No production house. You don't need a fancy studio, nothing. You just start off, because once the revenue, like you said, starts coming in, then it justifies you spending more money on it. And you build up upon it. Now I've got a pretty neat mic and stuff. Before that, it was just the phone, and hopefully in near future a studio as well. So so step by step, and we can do it.
I was having this conversation the other day with my good friend Kira, because Kira has gone on her own, and she is building out her own kit and gear for doing these kind of live streams. Exactly. And she was asking, she just got a standing desk. It was fantastic standing desk, a beautiful desk. And she was asking me about lighting. And because she saw the picture I shared on the Peak community with my desk and the lighting, and I sent her a link to it, and she's like, whoa, that's like well outside of my budget right now. And I said, let me send you some. I sent her a picture of a $15 tin can I got at Home Depot with parchment paper. I said, this is the lighting I used for my first 18 months on the job. Was this tin can with a daylight bulb with parchment paper close pinned on it. That's what I use. I said, you can build up to these things once you show ROI. Like the studio I have today is not the studio I started out with. I had to demonstrate ROI. That's what you do. Content, anything in marketing. You have some early wins, you measure so you can attribute it, and then you can build on it. And here's the thing about marketing you need to understand. Whether it's content marketing or anything else, if you want to be a serious marketer, you want to have a seat at the executive table, you're going to have to measure sooner or later. You're going to have to justify your investment, your salary, let alone your budget. So you better figure out how to measure stuff now. If you don't know how to measure stuff, if you don't know how to read a balance sheet, make it a personal initiative to go and actually get a book or talk to a mentor and say, teach me the basics.
Absolutely. I love that. So measure where your traffic and leads are coming from, because I guess that gives you the data on what's working and what's not, and where should you be putting your money in to move the needle on your business. I love that. Love that. Just want to say hi to all the again to all the peeps away. Jacob, hi. Thanks for turning up. Jacob is also an up-and-coming marketer. Good to see you here. Just a quick side note here, that you will find best bits of this show repurposed into short clips on my YouTube channel over here, which is very quickly bit.ly/spreading ideas with Amber Khan. All right, Darryl, what future trends do you see in the world of content and thought leadership marketing, especially post-COVID?
So the whole idea of the community is not going away, right? So whether it's peak marketing or, oh my gosh, there's 1,000 of them, Rev Genius, Revenue Collective, etc. All these kind of different communities. That's where the community's hanging out, and social media. So you're going to see lots, even post-COVID. You need to be part of that community. You need to have influence and presence. You're going to see new platforms emerge, which can be monetized or leveraged. The latest and greatest example of that in its early days is Clubhouse. Clubhouse is got a whole, I'm playing with it. I'm experimenting with it. I'm figuring it out. For those of you who are going, I've heard about it. What is Clubhouse? Clubhouse is a glorified, collection of topic-specific conference calls. That's the best way to put it. You get on a call with a bunch of strangers talking about content marketing, right? So that's an example, but it's great because I don't need to be looking at the screen. I don't need to be looking at memes. I don't need to be texting. I don't need to be writing. I can just have I can multitask. I can clean the house while listening and participating in a Clubhouse room. So that's going to be really, really big. You're going to establish yourself there. If you're all saying it's too late for me to get a presence in LinkedIn or Twitter, it's too crowded, go to Clubhouse. Beyond that, you're going to see, so that's in content marketing, futures in content marketing. When it comes,
I just want to add about the Clubhouse app. Which is now the new social media platform, and apart from all the ones that you already know of. I think that their sort of uniqueness lies in that that you can listen, like podcasts, you can listen to it anytime, right? But the difference between Clubhouse and the podcast is that podcasts are a one-way conversation. There is no interaction. You just listen to it, to somebody talking. They probably recorded it ages and ages ago. But Clubhouse is live conversation. So while you're multitasking and you have Clubhouse in your ear, you're actually listening and contributing to live conversation. So you have that option that if you have a question, hey, right, you get on it right away. While you're listening to it, you have a question, you say, hey, moderator, I have got a question for you. Or maybe you are the host, and then you get to share your point of view. So I see it as a two-way conversation as compared to a one-way podcast conversation, which makes it very, very real and very, very relevant. And that's why I feel that it's a great platform to be on to grow the business right now.
It is. And if you think about even what we're doing right now, like, so this is a live, it's LinkedIn Live, it's YouTube, etc., right? And how does the audience engage? The audience engages by putting down text comments or text chat. All right. So I need a screen. All right. I need a bit of type. I need a bit of, and I can read often there's in many of these live events, the conversations are often more prolific and more fast and furious than the actual content that the guests are sharing. So I have to really be paying attention. Whereas in Clubhouse, instead of that live text chat, you get to put your hand up and say, I want to contribute to this conversation. So Kira could all of a sudden, boom, just come up and she could be jamming with you and I out of the blue, as could, Daniel or Jacob or anybody else. And that's what's different. That's what's different. So it is dramatically cool. Content as a whole, the other things I would argue that are dramatically shifting is because content is just so incredibly crowded these days. It's not just a promotion. It's organic has become more and more and more important. So you truly need to become an SEO rock star, and the long form content will actually outperform small to medium sized content. So the long form content will continue to rise in impact. The challenge is with long form content is it's something that somebody's going to consume who's further down the sales funnel. So they're not maybe top of funnel, but it's going to have high intent. So you actually have a higher chance of attributing that content to that eventual sale, which is kind of good for you marketers. And finally, I truly believe there's a few things that if you have aspirations of being a VP of marketing or a CMO or maybe a CRO or a CEO, in other words, a true climb that ladder as opposed to being an expert in one thing. If that's your aspirations, then marketers need to understand a few basic things. Marketers need to understand content marketing. They're going to be kick-ass at it. They need to understand demand generation, tactics to use for demand generation. They need to understand revenue ops. How does the tech stack work together? And finally, they need to understand sales. They don't have to have done sales, but they need to understand sales. They need to be able to hold your sales counterparts accountable and work together with them. If you learn kind of those four things, you will have a kick-ass career. And I truly believe that the CMO will become a large presence as CEOs. We're already seeing that change now. We're seeing CROs, preferred CROs starting to come from the marketing world, which is a dramatic shift, not a sales world. And you're starting to see more CEOs really having a marketing background. So content marketing is a foundational must-have skill if you have aspirations of a long-term, constant upward trajectory growth in the marketing game. And here's the beauty of content marketing. You will never be without a job. Even if you get laid off tomorrow, you can do it as a side gig, freelance thing, and you will always pay your bills. And you can live and work in any country or location or beach you want to and do it. So content marketing is, if you choose not the career path, but you choose the lifestyle path, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I love that advice because about, marketers needing to understand sales, because that was I would say personally, that was the best advice I was ever given earlier on when I was starting into business and thinking about, what do I need to do? And, and as, I was told that if you have an idea, whatever it is, sell it first, and then you can build it, you can figure out how you're going to execute it. And you can then on top of it, learn all of the other skills, which is, for me, marketing was just my basic main interest. But before that, I had to understand sales. And even if you don't end up, like you're talking about, you don't end up as marketers, that's not going to be part of your role that you will be selling, but the understanding needs to be there, how it works and what it entails for a marketer to get better at their own job. So I love that one.
Yeah. And think about why you do content, right? You do content for brand or demand generation. That's the one reason. Or you do content to be used by sales in the sales cycle to advance the sales to the next stage, to the next stage, to the next stage. So if you don't understand sales, how can you make content that sales rep will value and use?
Absolutely.
They just won't. So you need to understand what they need. And often the best way to do that is to dabble in it yourself a little bit. So it's not as scary as it looks. And the beauty of being a marketer playing at sales is that you've got that marketing job to go back to. So, you're just like, you're just figuring it out. It's all it is.
Yeah, it's a safe space. I just want to give a quick shout out to Kanji. She works with me. She's a superstar. And I know it's like probably past midnight where she is, but she's still up watching this live. So thank you, Kanji. She's a superstar. Alrighty, folks. It is now that time of the interview for us. And you may be thinking, what? Is it gossip time or share the fun pickup lines time or tell an embarrassing joke time? Unfortunately, we are not that type of a show. Well, not yet anyway. But what it is time for is... it's the 48 hours challenge time. Now, Darryl, this is where I ask you to share what is that one thing that our viewers and listeners can implement when it comes to creating content that's contagious in the next 48 hours that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg or requires a large team to execute it.
Okay. Take a current piece of content you already have. Pick it. Blog post, ebook, whatever. And this is what I want you to do the next 48 hours. I want you to do a 60-second max video. 60 seconds. And I want you to have an opinion on the topic that content covers. And I want you to be provocative. And I want you to solicit people's opinions. That's the first thing. Make sure that video is, you can trim it up using any free editor. Yeah. Get it captioned. You can get it captioned. Lots of free services, artificial intelligence that'll do it for you. Worst cost you like $1, literally, because 60 seconds is hardly anything at all.
Yeah.
And then I want you to go and I want you to craft a LinkedIn or a Twitter post. And I want you to optimize that post. I believe the opening paragraph can be, don't quote me on this, it's been a while now, 310 characters or 250, whatever it is, figure that all out. Where before it says read more. So that first paragraph has to be a teaser.
Yeah.
So they click on read more. Yeah. And I want you to use all the right hashtags and I want you to spark debate. This post positions this. I'm not sure I agree. When I talked to Amber, she said that. When I talked to so-and-so, they said this. My opinion is this. I believe this to be true. But, what do you think? Embed your video, have a call to action, post it, like it, add another comment, maybe a link to an article that you sourced or a piece of, or the actual, in fact, what I would have is I would have a link to the original content you're talking about to learn the whole thing. So they have backdrop, that'll drive traffic. All right.
Right.
So, and then you want to make sure that that video, you've got either UTM codes in there or a bit.ly code so you can track the click through so you know exactly how much traffic you're driving from it, because this is all about driving and measuring your content. And then I want you to reach out with a handful of influencers, send direct messages and say, hey, Amber, I really love you to comment on this if you don't mind, because I really value your point, but make it relevant. This is not about them doing you a favor. You constantly talk about this and this and this. I just did a post on that. If you could share it or give me your opinion, because I think it's important, I'd be grateful. Some will, some won't. It is the way it is.
Yeah.
All right. And then I want you to, after 24 hours, do another post on social and saying, okay, I just did an experiment. I did a video, I did a post, and this is what I learned. It worked, it didn't work, what I would do differently, everything else. So now the second post is a personal post. First one is a content, issue basis. The second one is now personal. All right. And I want you to tag me and tag Amber, quote her show, that this is where the idea came from. So you're going to drive traffic to her as well. All right. Because it's reciprocal, it's relationship building. Yeah. And then after that experiment, we're all going to get together on a Clubhouse and we're going to talk about how the experiment went. And you're going to promote the fact that you're going to go on a Clubhouse with Amber and Darryl to talk about this experiment you just did. All right. So we're building, it's like a 7-layer cake. A layer upon a layer upon a layer upon a layer upon a layer to create hype and to really milk that content for all it's worth.
I love that. I love that. It's like, and this is all coming from just one single piece of content. You said 60-second video, and we can put so many layers on top of it to get more engagement and get more people involved. Which brings me to the point that where can people find you? I've got your LinkedIn here at Darryl Praill, and that's it.
That's it.
Don't forget to tag him, Darryl Praill, and your website, darrylpraill.com, if you want to follow his content. And VanillaSoft, where he's the CRO. You can find him over there as well.
Right.
Anything else you would like to mention, Darryl, where to follow your content?
You can follow me on Twitter. It's at Opinionated, OHPINION, the number 8 TED. You can follow me on Clubhouse the exact same way, at Opinionated. All of that's in my LinkedIn connection info, so you can find it all there if you don't remember it. And that's it. Please follow me. I will follow back. I promise you. And let's have some fun. Don't be a stranger. Don't just follow me and then never talk to me again. All right. If you agree with me, tell me you agree with me. If you disagree with me, tell me I'm an idiot. I will laugh and we will talk about it. All right. Do not be a stranger. Don't be that person. I want you to be a friend. I want you to be a colleague.
Yeah. I love that. And because that's how you.
One last place.
Yes.
Peak marketing, the Peak community, www.peak.community. If you're an emerging CMO or a CMO, you should be in this community. And if you're not, reach out to Amber or me, we'll hook you up. And you can always find Amber and me there. And that's a great place because it's just where marketers hang out.
Definitely. We're all in there. Kira is in there. Darryl in there. Love that community, especially as you're looking to build your marketing career, or even as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. There's so much going on there to learn from others. So much sharing is happening. So great place to be because everybody is so giving. So yes, definitely. All right, Darryl. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this live today. I heart you. I really do, because these lives wouldn't be fun without your support. And thank you, Darryl, for joining me and sharing your genius and your fabulous self with us today.
Awesome.
So
go to YouTube, follow Amber, subscribe, get the notifications. Don't be stupid.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Darryl. You're my cheerleader. And I can't wait to do a Clubhouse with you. That's going to be super awesome. All righty. Toodaloo for now.